Well, continuing with the broadcast this morning, and we are now taking a look at the environment. We're talking about climate change and also the impact that corporates actually have when it comes to contributing towards some of the climatic concerns and disasters as well. And this morning, we're joined by Lisa Makaula, Advocacy Officer at the Green Connection. We're talking about TotalEnergies, their exit from South Africa's gas exploration, and clearly a win for climate and for communities. Lisa, good morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Wadi.
Yes, obviously, we've seen a lot of positive feedback coming through, particularly from Greenpeace Africa, celebrating this decision by Total Energies to cease its gas exploration activities in South Africa, the offshore gas exploration activities.
Yeah, first of all, I must say that as the Green Connection, we welcome Total Energies withdrawal from Block 11B and 12B in Mossel Bay, as well as 567 that is in the Western Cape. And reason being, we are in a climate crisis, and I mean it's high time that multinational corporations, especially that are focusing on oil and gas, they actually start prioritizing in terms of planning and re-strategizing in terms of how they would move to sustainable energy sources. So this is quite a great victory for us and also for coastal communities that depend on oceans for a living. And since we do work with coastal communities, I mean, we do hear their concerns about oil and gas exploration, and we think that this was quite a good announcement this week for them.
Well, sometimes I'm just thinking, Lisa, is we haven't come to terms with how vulnerable we have become as a result of climate change and extreme climate conditions as well. And clearly, you mentioned obviously from an economic perspective as well, you're looking at communities that actually
Mm.
rely on the ocean for their well being to sustain themselves on a day to day basis. But again, looking at the bigger picture and how these impacts have actually been felt not only in South Africa, but right across the entire world.
Mm. I mean, climate change. We can't speak about it as if it's not happening. We are seeing the impacts of it, particularly in South Africa. We see how people in KZN have been affected, and how communities have been displaced because of climate change events that are now becoming more frequent than before, and which means that now a country is really high time that corporations that are in fossil fuel industries, they start re-strategizing in terms of how they would be moving to sustainable, energy development. And also, given that we are a country that signed climate commitments internationally to basically reduce our carbon footprint. So I think it's very much important that multinational corporations, especially those that focus on oil and gas, they now start strategizing in terms of how they would move, from those heavily industries that are reliant from on fossil fuels to sustainable energy development. And as I've said, climate change does quite have negative impacts economically as well, because that would mean that now municipalities and government would have to spend more money trying to rebuild the infrastructure that has been damaged by climate change, and it now affects those in communities that are impoverished and those communities that are already bearing the brunt of climate change. So I mean, this is quite a huge victory for communities and for us, and I think it sets a precedent that it's high time that these companies, they prioritize their actually the sustainable development goals, meaning they now should start looking into investing in proper energy that is going to be beneficial for everyone, not the fossil fuel industry that now seems to be, because we are moving away, countries are moving away from those industries. So it's very important that they also now prioritize, strategizing in terms of how they would fit within the new emerging green industry.
Yes, Lisa, but also I think sometimes, we just we give fancy names and fancy terms to this. We're talking about gas exploration, but in effect, If one needs to just put it simply, these are polluters, and they are polluting the environment, and they must pay for their actions.
Mm, mm. I mean, looking at, I mean, the International Energy Agency has highlighted that there is no need for countries to, invest in oil and gas developments because assets could become stranded, meaning they might no longer be needed in the future because other countries are transitioning away from fossil fuels. And at the same time, gas has been proven to be more potent over a 20-year period than coal. So why would we continue investing in such projects that are going to, cost people's livelihoods, by trying to contribute to climate change. So those are the issues that we have been trying to raise. And as the Green Connection, we also have a court case on TIPSA 567. And at the moment, we still waiting for the legal team to actually provide a way forward.
But also, I think when one looks at going forward and looking at some of the predictions that are being made, and this is quite scary, where we look at even South Africa, where we've experienced extreme weather conditions, and at the end of the day, resulting in all sorts of natural disasters, whether we're talking of wildfires, we're talking of tornadoes, we talk of extreme flooding, people being displaced. And what is scary is the predictions are telling us that these extreme weather events are actually projected to increase in
Yeah.
frequency, severity, and also intensity. And it could obviously result in huge disasters, where some of the numbers that are being quoted saying by between 2030 and 2050, this change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year. Now, this is
Mm.
scary.
I mean, African countries, it's well known that most of them are currently suffering from debt, and I mean, investing in fossil fuel industries, which assets could become stranded in the near future, it's not quite a good way of approach to go because I mean, that's the public's money first of all, and people in the communities are already suffering from climate change. So, I mean, why shouldn't we be investing in sustainable energy resources, renewable energy? And South Africa has quite good, sources when it comes to that wind and sun. So, why don't we invest in such projects that are going to be beneficial for the communities and that will also help us transition away from fossil fuels? And obviously, we're not saying that the country should just switch off immediately to, and leave everything. But I know there must be like a just transition, meaning that the communities that are currently suffering from energy poverty, they must be considered in the just energy transition, and they must not be left behind. And now that means bringing in those renewable energy sources instead of bringing in projects that could be detrimental to the environment that they live in, environment that they actually use to build their economy, because most of the coastal communities, they rely on fishing, small scale fishers, and they sell their fish. So that is an economy that is currently happening on the ground. So why would we try to disrupt that, knowing that as a country we are already having high unemployment rates? So I mean, climate change is quite very serious, and the disasters are going to become more frequent if we do contribute, I mean, if we do invest in such fossil fuel projects.
Well, Lisa, I know we took you away from a conference, but we thank you for taking time out this morning, talking to us right here on Salam Media. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Lisa Makaula was us this morning right here on Salam Media against the background of Total Energies, a welcome move, their exit from South Africa's gas exploration. And clearly, this is a win for the climate change lobby and also communities. The time is just gone 11 minutes past 9. We'll be back.